Well, today it's okay to be weak. Permission granted. And honestly, I'm feeling pretty weak myself this morning. But actually, weakness is the way to escape the ego clutches of the world and find rest and comfort in God's strength. And that's something I've always sort of known, but to experience that on a daily basis, well, that's different. I'm reminded of a experience I had leading a book club for fourth graders with another dad at our local elementary school at Moorhead. And it was so funny walking in the first time, looked around at the tables. There were the boys over in the corner sitting at a table, and there were not any chairs for adults. And I remember kind of asking somebody, hey, are there any adult chairs? And there was no adult chairs. And it's interesting to walk into a room and have to sit in a child's chair. But that's what I did. I mean, that's what everybody did. And so I stooped and I got low, and it was kind of humbling. It was kind of humiliating sitting with your knees high, but I was eye to eye with those boys, and we carried out our club, and it was a wonderful experience. There's great freedom, I think, in humility, even though sometimes it first feels like humiliation. The Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians 11 and 12, and I'm reading through that, and it's really just a reminder that God won't let you stay with the idea of being strong, that weakness really is the way. So Paul would say, hey, if I'm going to boast in my weakness, because that is where God is most strong. So he gave this example at the end of 2 Corinthians 11, and it's so funny. It's kind of like him walking into a elementary school library. But he writes this: when I was in Damascus, the governor under King Herodas kept guards at the city gates to catch me. I had to be lowered in a basket through a window in the city wall to escape from him. That story is retold in Acts 9. But it's a powerful contrast. In my holy imagination, I just kind of see this king ruling and displaying his power, to catch Paul. And that's what the word literally means. He was kind of flexing. He was displaying his power, intimidating, taking advantage of the political power of that day. Then there's Paul kind of crunched up in a basket, swinging maybe against a wall, being lowered down to escape him. And that image of, the difference between powering up and Paul powering down and being in a basket. But Paul was lowered into greatness. He was lowered into the narrative of God. He sunk beneath discouragement and danger. So Paul is able to speak with us on an eye level. We're able to get it with Paul, that weakness is the way. And we can resonate with him. And we can also be lowered into the strength of God, the story of God. And so later in 2 Corinthians 12, Paul said it, and these are red letters in some Bibles because it's the words of Jesus to Paul. Jesus says, my grace, John, Paul, you, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. So I love that. So what might you be lowered into today? What meeting might you be walking into at lunchtime? How might giving yourself permission to be weak actually save your life? And how might you need to be eye level with people around you? And that's what humility does. That's what being weak does. It lowers you into this place of representing and displaying God's power and being present in a way that he's there and that you are working with him. You're walking with him. So I'll be curious to hear your experience of how God is lowering you down into his story and his narrative today.